Well, I didn't really grow up in the best home life. Like, we were middle class. I had two parents. Like, there was no like stereotype. Like, I'm not part of a divorced family and in the ghetto or anything. But we did have our problems. Like, my mom was addicted to drugs, and my brother was also addicted to drugs. So I was kind of abused for about the first 12 years of my life. I started to feel suicidal when I was about 9 years old. I don't think anything like was impressed upon me to be like, yeah, suicide's an option. Like, I probably didn't even know that was a word, but I really did have this natural urge to kill myself. And I wrote my first suicide note when I was 9 years old, and I left it in my desk at school for like a long time. And one day it just fell out, and my teacher found it, and she like pulled me out into the hall, and she was asking me like, hey, what's going on? Like, this is some serious stuff. And I was like, oh, I was just joking. She's like, I don't believe you. So she called my parents, and then my parents found out, and they took it a way that kind of surprised me. Like, they actually cared, and they actually sat me down and they were asking me why I felt this way, and like they were apologizing for like the status of my home and stuff. I just told them I was joking. I didn't feel the way I felt, but like I did, and they kind of forgot about it after that. And anytime I was angsty or whatever, like they kind of got normalized to it. They kind of accepted it. They were kind of like, yeah, Scott's just, he's just down. Like, he's just going through teenage emotions. But like, that feeling never left me of like wanting to kill myself. Anytime life got hard, anytime any challenge arose, just that feeling would come back. And it kind of, as I got older, I started to see more of what life was in a larger scale. Like, I started to see life as essentially meaningless, essentially pointless. Like, no matter what we do, it's never really going to amount to anything. Like, life is zero sum. Like, why are we here? These questions were plaguing me all the time. So anytime a challenge would come, I'd be like, yeah, I can overcome this. Like, I probably could defeat it, but like, what's the point? Just another challenge will come. Like, this feeling's probably still going to be here. I'm probably still going to want to kill myself. And it never relented. And anytime any sad thing happened in my life, I would use that as justification for the way I felt. So it was just honestly a constant loop of just this emotion. And as I grew up, it started to get worse and worse. And one of the reasons why I joined the military, and to be honest, I feel like this is a bad reason, is that I thought if I shocked my system, if I pulled myself completely out of my environment, I was forced into a new way to live, it would eradicate it. It would get rid of it. It didn't at all. Like, it did not work, not even a little bit. And it, in a way, made it worse, because now I was being held accountable, not only like by my fellow like wingmen, but legally. Like, if you just suddenly decide to stop caring, well, you could go to jail, you could be reprimanded. And so I knew that I had to learn how to fight this, and that was the key word to it. It's something you fight. Like, you don't just like let the feeling dwell over you. And from there, I just started this uphill battle of just like, no, I'm not going to be suicidal anymore. Like, anytime a challenge came to me, I took it seriously. I stopped trying to like laugh it off with irony and sarcasm. I just started to like take life in a lot more of a serious light. I just started to get better by actively fighting it, and I would slip up a lot. Like, I would definitely make a lot of progress, and then like in a day, it would feel like months of progress would just go away, and I would be right back to it, right back to, thinking about killing myself, because just that idea was so enchanting to me, like, just to be done with it all, just to peace out of life and just not have to deal with it anymore. And that was such a defeatist mindset, and when I look back at it, but it made so much sense then. After about a month after that conversation, and it took a lot of pride swallowing, like, it was terrible. Like, I hated calling them, and they were like, yeah, you just need to come in and fill some stuff out. And I was like, I have to come in? I can't just go see somebody? Like, this is ridiculous. And so I didn't have a car because I was a new airman. So my friend, he had to drive me there, and he was like, where am I taking you? I was like, you're taking me to the clinic. And he was like, oh, which part? And I was like, the mental health clinic. And he's like, that's on the other side of base. That's not next to the clinic. And I was like, Great. So he took me there, and the entire time he was asking questions. He was like, "Are you all right? Like, if you need anything, I'm here." He was really supportive, but it was still just so awkward to talk about because it's embarrassing to feel suicidal. Like, you kind of feel like you're painted a different color than everybody else. Like everyone else around you has this thing, this life figured out enough to an extent that they don't want to like end it themselves. So I never liked talking about it with people because of that reason. It's like, look, I'm broken, I'm trying to fix my own stuff, and you guys don't need to know that because I don't want to drag you down or be a downer or be ignored. So we get to mental health, and they give me all this paperwork to fill out, and it kind of felt silly, but like I was like answering yes to all like the depressed questions and stuff. And when I turned it in, they were like, "Do you need to talk to somebody now?" And I was like, "No, let's just wait on that. I'll talk in about a week. Like, just give me the normal schedule. I really don't want to make this an emergency." And to be honest, I kind of wish I did talk to somebody then, because that week was like terrible. Like all the anxiety, like I built up this image of how my first conversation with my therapist would go. And it was just awful. And then the first day when I got there, I just wanted to leave. I did not want to be in there. I did not want to do this. It was just too intense, honestly. And so when we got in there to actually talk to my therapist, she was really understanding, and she was kind of like caught off guard that I didn't seek help earlier. And I don't know, it doesn't surprise me now that I didn't seek help earlier because of the embarrassment, because it feels shameful to feel like that. So I guess I subconsciously like buried it deep down inside, like the urge to talk to somebody about it. I would also say not to look at mental health as a magic pill. Like, you need to put in your own work too. Like, no one else is going to fix you except yourself. Everyone can help you along the way, of course, but you need to really look at it as your own journey of overcoming this. And you can't fool yourself into thinking that, you know, there's some magic thing out there that's just going to take it all away, because there isn't, except yourself. If I had to tell somebody in the situation that I was a few years ago, I would tell them to not only swallow their pride, because there is a bit of pride in there. I mean, it's varying for everyone else, but to realize that people do care. Like, they do naturally care. Even when they act like they don't care or they don't have time for you, they do. Like, we humans naturally care for one another, and that took me a while to understand. Like, because I thought that people would brush my problems off as silly, as stupid, as not worthwhile. And while there are people who do think like that, like, "Oh, you're suicidal, quit being a wussy, like, man up, or just take care of it," there are a lot of people like that, and they do nothing but make it worse. But there are, on the other side, people who are very empathetic, very ready to understand. Like my supervisor, he didn't hold my hand the whole way of like progress and development, but he would like text me on the week and be like, "Hey, how are you doing? Like, do you want to come over? I'm having like a barbecue with my family." Like, he would just do stuff like that. And after I started to accept, like, it really was an acceptance for something that should be so natural. Like, as I began to accept that people do care, that became a lot easier. And you got to find the people that are willing to sit and be like, "Okay, let's look at your rotten apples and let's take care of them. Like, let's try and do this together." And you have to just seek those people out, and they are there. I would get them one-on-one and just see what's going on. Like, ask them really direct and hard-hitting questions. Don't try and beat around the bush, because my supervisor, he was like, "Jackson, you look depressed. Like, what's going on?" And he didn't accept, "Oh, nothing, like, I'm just having a bad day." No, he pried until he got an answer. And it is nosy and it does feel like that, but you are handling someone's life. If they look suicidal, your intuition might be correct, and you don't want to be wrong about that. You want to find out if you're wrong, but you need to push. And you need to show that you actually give a crap. I would give them their options of, like, you know, mental health and all that, and even just be like, "Hey, I'm also an open ear. If you feel embarrassed going to these people, if you feel embarrassed going to a chaplain or a mental health agency, like, I'm here as not only as like your supervisor, but as a friend, or as you would look at a family member." So definitely just show them that you're there, and not in a little way.